Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Majestic speaking with a special edition of Mech Warrior Online here. Now, I normally don't do videos like this, where they put out an announcement saying that a particular mech is available for Cbills and another mech in particular is available for MC. But once in a while, and starting now even, I guess I could say, there are particular mechs that cross your path that I just feel like I should really make a case for you guys in order to enjoy this game even more than you probably already do. And in front of me, the Bushwacker is now available for Cbills. And I just felt like I really wanted to make a video telling you guys about why it would be a fantastic purchase for the Bushwacker. I've done a couple videos on the Bushwacker. I have the Machete version 1 that's up there, and even now you guys are still dropping that hashtag when you see me in-game saying Majestic's Machete, which is absolutely awesome. And then I also placed up the Machete version 2 on Patreon. So I have 2 videos out already on this chassis, and I just really want to talk this mech up, and you know, I've enjoyed it so much at this point, and I really want you guys to share in how much I've enjoyed this mech. The Bushwacker is a fantastic medium chassis. It really does give a bolster or a benefit to the inner sphere. I mean, I'm very, very happy that they introduced it into the game. The hitboxes, the hard points, the loadouts, the possibilities with this mech, it really does touch upon every single one of the attributes I like to have in my mechs when I'm hitting the battlefield. Firepower, speed, and durability. It hits on every single one of those points. Nail on the head. It's a medium chassis, really knows how to absorb damage, keep you in the fight, constant suppression fire, a big thundering boom if you'd rather go with, fight on the battlefield like that. But really, you know, there in some cases there are just some mechs that really do grab my attention, and you know, there are ones obviously that I favor over others. It's a matter of personal play style. But the Bushwackers, I really feel like all of you guys would have a fantastic time playing around with on the battlefield. And you know, all of the variants are good. To me, some are more fun to use than others, so I'm going to go through a couple of those variants, ones that I suggest that you pick up if you do decide to pick up the Bushwackers. Again, for Cbills, you know, grind it out. These prices aren't that ridiculous. They aren't that expensive. And, you know, it's kind of crazy when you think about it, but, you know, the game is where it is at this point, and yes, there are some huge changes that are coming to the game, but there are some mechs that I'm going to constantly be using on the battlefield regardless of how the game changes. And the Bushwacker is definitely going to be one of them. I can see myself using this mech for a long, long time and never really getting tired of it. I just love using them. They're so much fun. And I really feel like all of you guys would enjoy even just experiencing one of these chassis for yourself, one of the variants of this chassis for yourself, I should say. And you know, if you look at these prices, yeah, you know, 7.7, 7.4, 8.4, they're all within that range. Is it worth it? Absolutely. If you can, you know, crank out the Cbills, buy at least one of these variants, and you know, you'd have a hard time arguing to me that you didn't have at least a little bit of fun messing around with particular builds out there on the battlefield. And you know, I'm going to go through the variants that I suggest you guys pick up. A lot of you guys have been asking me, you know, which variants do you suggest? You love the Bushwackers. We saw the Machete, the version 1. The version 2 is out there. But what do you suggest, and why? What's your rationale behind it? So, you know, the second half of this video is going to be actually in the mech lab going through each of these mechs. And it's kind of funny because, you know, a lot of people are labeled as, you know, taking out particular mechs that they're known for, that people, you know, can associate them with. And, you know, I've really adopted it even in game as being the Bushwhacker guy. A lot of guys, you know, out there on the battlefield when I'm in game are asking me, you know, are you in a Bushwacker? Are you in a Bushwacker? What are you in? You know, they want to make sure that I'm not taking out the machete or anything, you know, or doing a video in which, you know, who knows, they might make an appearance in. But the whole point is that I've just embraced this mech, and it really does, I guess, hold a special place in my heart, guys. Not to be all weird about it, but it's really a fun mech. That's the point that I'm trying to get at. And I want you guys to share in that fun, that excitement, that thrill of running around on the battlefield with a mech that you know can take some punishment, can deal some punishment, and has the speed to maneuver. Like, you know, there's always seemingly a trade-off between some of these mechs of whether you're carrying enough firepower versus having a big enough engine versus, you know, being able to absorb enough damage, mechs that are too squishy and stuff like that. And the Bushwhacker really has an answer for everything, to make you have that healthy balance. And you could tweak it according to your playstyle and what you feel comfortable with doing and how you like to play with your mechs out there on the battlefield. But all in all, it's a very, very well-rounded mech. And that's the reason why I wanted to make this video. It's a very special video just because obviously I don't make announcements about the Cbills. You guys see the announcements that they make for the Cbills when you launch the game. So it's not like it's anything new that I'm telling you here. I'm just sitting here as, you know, as a pilot that loves to play this mech and thinks that you guys would really enjoy it too. And I highly suggest picking it up for yourselves. I just want to spread the knowledge, spread the wealth of how much fun these mechs are. And hopefully you guys decide to pick them up for yourselves. Now that we've gone through, you know, we've gone through the actual announcement here that they're actually available for Cbills. We've gone through, you know, the pricing of them and everything like that. They did show some screenshots here of them. I think now it's about that time that we go through the actual variants in the game. So we're going to switch right over to the Mech Lab here. And instead of starting with the hero variant, the High Roller, we're going to start backwards. So you guys have seen this mech quite a few times that I've taken it out, and I've done the video on it. This is the Machete. This is the P2 variant. So this is the one that I originally started messing around with, that I had a ton of fun playing with, and really it kind of just came to, you know, mind out of nowhere. The quirks that cater to it really stand out in comparison to the trade-off of some of the other variants. You have energy heat generation bonus of 10%, and you know, whereas the other variants have only one hard point of a particular weapon system and a quirk that will apply to that one hard point, this mech has 4 energy hard points, and it has that energy heat generation bonus. So that definitely stuck out to me. And then you have the rate of fire quirk for the machine gun of 20%. So, you know, you want to use those ballistics for the machine gun, so that was a given. The energy heat generation bonus 10%, you know, that was fun for me to mess around with that, knowing that I get that heat generation bonus to make sure that my mech was heat efficient out there on the battlefield. And to have this quirk to go along with it with 4 energy hardpoints definitely stuck out to me. Using 2 missile hardpoints as well. You could see one is high mounted and one is in the left arm here. So, you know, you have one that's on the high mount, one that's a little lower, one above the cockpit, one below the cockpit. But they're on the same side of the mech. So it was easy to kind of, you know, factor that into my playstyle and how I wanted to build this mech out. So the Bushwacker, the P2, definitely keep that one on your radar. I'm going to give you guys a full synopsis at the end of which ones I would pick up. Right now is just the overview. P2 is definitely a solid variant, though. If we look over at the X2, the X2 doesn't offer any type of quirk bonus. It has a very healthy balance between all of your weapon systems. 3 ballistic, 2 energy, 3 missile. So, you know, there is a balance there. You know, you can either be more missile-oriented. If you want to go with heavier ballistics, you can even go with that. You do have the 2 energy hard points in there. So, you know, it's just a very solid way of getting a bunch of different types of weapons out there and maybe having a favorite, maybe leaning in a particular way more than others. But it definitely provides that kind of, what's it called? like an open kind of canvas, if you will, where you can kind of just tweak and mix and match and kind of figure out what kind of builds you want to run if you decide to run with the Bushwacker. So as you can see, I haven't messed around with the X2 very much. You know, it does have that healthy balance, but I kind of figured out what I wanted to play with this mech, you know, very early on. So I really wasn't kind of using this as an open canvas to figure out what I wanted, because I mean, I knew what my play style was, and I knew what like the missile hardpoints or the ballistics were going to be, the energy, stuff like that. And knowing how the hitboxes and the engine ratings and everything work, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. So the X2, if you're new, you're not sure how you want to play your Bushwacker, if you decide to get one, definitely keep the X2 in mind. The X1 is the one that comes with the special variant. If you did purchase it or pre-order it, all it has is a ballistic range bonus of 10% and energy heat generation bonus of 10%. The X1 that I have to the left, the blue one there, that is the Majestic version 2, the Majestic Machete version 2, I should specify. So I'm going to go through the special variants because obviously, you know, the patrons do know what that build is, what it entails and everything. And you can probably see it even in the picture here, but just in case you have any questions about it, you got to be a patron in order to see it. So we're going to go through the special variant. 4 ballistic, 1 energy, 3 missile, and 1 AMS. So the quirk summary, again, that ballistic range bonus 10% and energy heat generation bonus of 10%. Now we have the energy range bonus of 10% that applies to 4 ballistic hardpoints. And so that's definitely an added bonus. And that applies regardless of what ballistic weapon you use. So whether you're using a machine gun, AC2s, not utilizing all 4 ballistic hardpoints, and maybe using UAC 5s, something like that, you know that you get that 10% bonus with the range. Then with the 1 energy hardpoint, you get the energy heat generation bonus of 10. So that's what I was talking about, where, you know, you don't have necessarily all of your weapon hardpoints are, you know, 4, 4, 4, something like that, with these generic weapon quirks that could apply on a bigger scale. But it does serve a purpose if you like the X1. You know, obviously it is a little bit more ballistic and missile heavy, not as reliant on the energy, so that's something that you have to take into consideration. I did build the Majestic's Machete version 2 out of it, so that's a little bit of an indicator there for you of how, you know, you will see this mech performed out there on the battlefield. And then, so that's, I mean, they're fun. They're all great mechs. All the variants are pretty fun. But again, we're going to go through the full synopsis at the end. The S2. The S2 is a very interesting variant. It only has ballistic cooldown bonus of 10%. Now, all these variants do have armor or armor bonuses in pretty much every part of the mech except the head. So that's where the bulkiness and the tankiness comes from. The S2 has that ballistic cooldown, only has 1 ballistic slot, and that ballistic hardpoint is a little low mounted in that right arm. So you do have to take that into consideration if that's something that you like. If you like right side peeking, you know, using the S2 might be something that's for you. 2 energy hardpoints and 4 missile hardpoints with 2 AMS hardpoints and 0 ECM. So if you like defense against missiles and everything, having those 2 AMS hardpoints might be something that you will, you know, take to your liking. It's not really my number one. As you can see, I haven't even messed with it. It's still in the stock paint and everything like that. You know, I put on mixed loadouts, trying to figure out exactly what I would want to do with it. So it's really up to you guys if that's more of your thing. All of the missile hardpoints are on the left side, though, so the left torso and the left arm. Then you have the ballistic on the right side, and I believe is the energy hardpoint. I think the energy hardpoint is in the center torso. Yeah, it's 2 energy hardpoints are in the center torso, so they can stack on top of each other. Then if we look over at the P1 is the missile boat variant. It has the 6 missile hardpoints, 1 energy, 1 ballistic. Now the quirks have nothing to do with the missile hardpoints, though. So, you know, you have 6 missile hardpoints, 1 AMS, and 0 ECM even. But the ballistic cooldown and energy cooldown quirks are the only, you know, weapon quirks that apply here. So there's nothing to help out those 6 missile hardpoints, even though this is the missile vote variant. So, you know, you do have to factor that in there if this is something that you would want to perform with or play with. again, you buyer beware, because you know, you're getting those quirks for one of each of those hard points between the ballistic and the energy, but they're not catering to what the majority of this mech is built around, which are those 6 missile hard points. And last but not least, we have the High Roller, the High Roller hero. Energy range bonus 10%, and machine gun rate of fire plus 15%. So the quirks there are a little beneficial, and we have the hard points that go with each of these quirks. We have ballistic, 3 hard points, energy, 4 hard points, 1 missile hard point, 1 AMS hard point, and 0 ECM hard points. So it does have a missile hard point in there. Again, there aren't any quirks that cater to it or anything like that, but you know, all in all, it's a pretty balanced mech. I haven't messed around with the High Roller since I did the first video on it. You know, I didn't click into the P1 just because, you know, I might be working on a couple videos with that. But the High Roller, it's definitely an interesting mech. I mean, you have the 4 energy hard points between the center torso and the left arm. The 1 missile hard point is a high mounted hard point in the left torso. And then the rest of the ballistic weapons, as you can see, are on either side of the cockpit here, and then 1 in the right arm as well. So, you know, it's kind of spread out all over the place. It's a mix and match kind of mech as well. It does have some beneficial quirks, like the energy range quirk and the machine gun rate of fire quirk. So I definitely recommend using machine guns and maybe you know, even medium lasers or something like that on this, or medium pulse. Even if you want to make it an all-energy build and you, I don't know, 4 large lasers or ER larges, you get that bonus there. But you won't get the rate of fire bonus because you're not using machine guns. But, you know, all in all, you know, it is a fun mech. It's very diverse. It's all over the place. It has, you know, the ballistic and the energy focus with a little bit of missile sprinkled in there. But all in all, I mean, I really enjoy every one of these mechs, every one of these variants. I haven't messed around with all of them in the same light as some of the other ones, but I will highly recommend particular variants here, especially when you take into consideration the price for everything. So I'm going to put these guys kind of like right next to each other, so you can see exactly how, you know, everything kind of stacks up in the game, and you know, what I'm seeing out of this. And I'm going to, you know, zoom in a little bit here and maybe put it like that so you can see everything here. But so I'm going to go over it like this so that you guys can kind of associate the price with it. So I don't really use the X2. It's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive either. So, you know, again, buyer beware. It's the mix and match, kind of figure out your playstyle with the Bushwacker kind of variant. That's what I would use it for, is kind of like a canvas to figure out what you want to do with your Bushwackers. And then if you pick up these other variants, then you'll know based off what you did with this one. If I go over to the Machete, the P2 is the second most expensive. So, and only by a small margin in comparison to the X1. But, you know, it's definitely, you know, if you know what you want to do with this mech, if you want to even just try out Majestic's Machete, the original Machete, then definitely pick this variant up. 7.7 million Cbills is the tag on it. But it does have those quirks and everything that really make it a fun time to work and mess around with on the battlefield. I'm going to scroll it down here so you guys can see the quirks and everything as I go over them. So yeah, you get the energy, heat generation, and machine gun bonus. You also have the benefit of, you know, having a lot of energy hard points that can actually use that energy, heat generation quirk, and a couple ballistics to work with the machine gun quirk. So, you know, that's a rationale behind where the Majestic's Machete build came from and why I would even purchase it right now. So you have 2 of those guys knocked out. The X1 is the Majestic Machete version 2. So if you look at the price here, the X1 is actually the 3rd most expensive. So, you know, you have the S2, P2, and now the X1. So the X1, I'm enjoying it thoroughly. It has the 4 ballistic hard points, in which you have that ballistic range bonus, you have the energy hard point, and then the 3 missile hard points. The 3 missile hard points are all located on the left side. The energy hard point is at the tip of the nose, so you know where you're firing from. You might have to expose the mech a little bit more, but it is a lot of fun to play. And I would highly recommend picking up this one as well. It is pretty fun, especially intermingling those ballistics and missile hard points with at least quirks to work with the range on the ballistics. And you know, definitely worth picking up if you like that kind of mix with your weapons and not as energy reliant, if you will. So that's my take again on the X1. Now, if we look over at the S2, the S2 is actually the most expensive one on this list. And I mean, it has the ballistic cooldown bonus, 10%. It's only one hard point that you're getting that quirk for. The rest is all base armor that you're getting. And then the 4 missile hard points all on the left side of the mech. And then the 2 energy hard points in the center torso. So, I mean, they definitely, you know, divide each of these weapon systems up. You have the ballistics on the right, energy in the middle, missile on the left. So that definitely makes it very easy for the pilot to figure out exactly if they're peeking around one corner, what weapons they'll be firing, and, you know, not really mixing and matching, overlapping, or anything like that. But I don't really see the justification behind having this mech at a more expensive price versus one of maybe the other ones that I mentioned, save you even in one case with the P1, if you decide to get the P1, which I'm about to go to in a second, saving a million Cbills. The S2 is a very interesting build, or an interesting setup for your mech in the Bushwacker chassis, but I just don't know if I would spend more money on that, because it doesn't seem like it's offering that much. If I wanted missiles, I'd go with the P1. If I wanted energy, I could either go with the P2 or the high roller. So where the trade-off is there, I probably would stay away from the S2 unless you want to collect all of the different chassis, then or all the different variants of this chassis, then that's up to you. And yeah, it's the most expensive on this list, so maybe stay away if you want to save some Cbills a little bit. Maybe just mess around with some of the other variants first before you decide whether or not you want to pick up the other ones. The P1, as I mentioned to you guys before, the missile boat variant, it is the yeah, it's the cheapest on this list. So if you really like missile boats, you like splat, you like, dare I say, lerms, but you know, it's a very tanky mech, so I highly suggest using those missile hard points for splat and SRMs. But to have that as the cheapest one on the list definitely gets it some bonus points here. You know, it does have the quirks that cater to the 1 ballistic and 1 energy hard point. I would probably pick this up anyway if I were you guys, just because you do get that splat effect. And just for some extra amplification, constant DPS while your SRMs or whatever, your lerms are cooling down, you know, you can use those backup weapons and you have those cooldown bonuses. So definitely keep this one in mind for purchase, especially since it does have the cheapest price point. Now, for the high roller, is it worth the MC? I feel like the P2 and the X1 kind of supplement what this mech is. But if you really, really like that spread with the energy and the ballistics, not as focused on missiles, you get the quirks, the energy range and rate of fire bonus on the machine guns. If that's how you like to mess around with your mechs, then yeah, pick it up. It's worth the MC. It's never going to be on Cbills. So if you like the chassis and maybe you just want to collect them all, you know, pick up the high roller. But overall, between all of the variants, the ones that I would pick up if I were you guys, I would focus on the P1, the X1, or the P2. So P1, X1, or P2. X2 only if you don't know what to do with a Bushwacker and you're trying to figure it out. It's like a smorgasbord, kind of like an open platter. You kind of figure it out. The S2 really only once, I mean, if that's just your cup of tea, it's going to be a very select fan base of the Bushwacker that's going to pick up the S2 out of nowhere. And then the high roller, obviously, as I mentioned before, if you like the chassis, you want to collect them all. That's really where my take is. So again, one more time, P1, X1, P2. Those are the 3 that I would focus on if I were you guys for picking up for Cbills. And, you know, again, as I mentioned, the P1 is the least expensive. The X1 is the second, or no, the third most expensive, and the P2 is the second most expensive. So you have the second, third, and least expensive mechs that I'm recommending to you guys. So I hope that take it all for granted there. Kind of figure out what you want to do with these mechs first before you really decide to jump on in and mess around with these mechs on the battlefield. Wait, let me just make sure I got that right. So yeah, here's the most expensive is S2. The P2, yes, is the second most expensive. X1 is the third most expensive. The X2 is the fourth most expensive, and then the P1 is the least expensive. So these are the ones that I'm suggesting for you guys: the P2, the P1, and the X1. So again, in order for price, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So second, third, and fifth on the price chart. So if that's what your main focus is, then definitely keep that in mind. But that's going to do it for this video. I know it was a long one, but I really do enjoy this mech. It does hold a special place in my heart, and it's cool to be known as the kind of like the Bushwacker guy now on the battlefield. I thought I was going to be the Mad Dog guy, and some people do associate me with the Mad Dog, but a lot of times, you guys are catching me in my Bushwhacker, so in one of my Bushwhackers. So I really, really enjoy these mechs. If you guys do decide to pick it up for Cbills, have fun with them. Let me know how you do if you enjoy them. I know I certainly do, and I love them every single time I play them, and I always feel comfortable and confident and really ready to tear some shit up out there on the battlefield if I'm in one. So if you guys do pick it up, let me know. And if you already messed with some builds, stuff that's working for you, I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I know it's definitely a different one. It's not a typical MechWarrior Online gameplay video or anything like that, but I did want to share this with you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it for what it was. It's going to be a select crowd that tunes into this video, but I figured I would put it out there anyway. Definitely 100% worth picking up. So thank you guys so much again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next one. Take care, guys.